Hey there, Husker Nation. Jake Schrantz with you for our Sports Ticker, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. First off, with some Nebraska softball news, the Huskers revealed their 2026 Big Ten and tournament schedule, which includes 4 tournaments, 4 home conference series, and 4 road conference series. The season opens for Nebraska at the UTSA Invitational in San Antonio, Texas on February 6th through the 8th, before traveling to Clearwater, Florida for the ESPN Clearwater Invitational from February 12th through the 15th. Big Red will face off with teams like Texas Tech, Tennessee, and UCLA, all of whom made the 2025 Women's College World Series. If you're looking for more info on the schedule announcement, head on over to Huskers.com for more info. Also today in Husker track and field news, the nationally ranked Nebraska teams will have 14 entries at the NCAA Outdoor Championships this Wednesday through Saturday at Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. Coming into the competition, the men are 6th and the women are 23rd in the USTFCCCA Week 10 polls. The women lead the way in the javelin event, while the men sit atop both the javelin and high jump rankings. Around the MLB tonight, a few games have already gotten underway. The Tigers and the Orioles up 1-0 are Detroit in the bottom of the second. After 2 innings, the Reds and the Guardians still scoreless. In the bottom of the second, Miami and Pittsburgh are still scoreless. And after 1, Chicago and Philadelphia also scoreless. We'll keep an eye on some other scores throughout the night. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Let's take it to hour number 1 of Sports Nightly right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Pianto set first offering. That ball's driven up the middle. Coming around third is Dylan Carey. The throw is offline. The Huskers win it. The Huskers win it. Nebraska will march on.
Wing to the near side. Snap back. Has some time. Steps, throws down the field. The pass is intercepted. Picked off by Sierra Wright to the 30, 25, 20. Sierra down the near sideline. 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Nebraska. Sierra Wright with a pick 6 for Nebraska. And the Huskers have taken the lead on the road.
Rimdahl, a couple of ball fakes, bounces into Prince at half court. And Prince is going to make a run on a falter. Steps back for 3 to tie the game. You betcha! Biggest shot of that freshman's young career. Timeout! We're tied at 75. Britt Prince is 19. She steps back and sticks a 3-pointer, her 5th of the night.
Now, here are your hosts, Jessica Coody and Nick Hanley, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome to this show. Happy Tuesday to you with Nick. I'm Jessica Coody, and hey, Nick, I've been dying to ask you. We were left in limbo when we signed off the air last night. I'm wondering if you fast shipped your Murray State t-shirt or if you're going to roll with the Big Ten this week.
I'm all Murray State. I'm an Omaha native, so we got to find that team to embrace. And there was a time it was Coastal Carolina. Of course, we had Stony Brook one year. And yeah, there's something about Murray State. It's got a nice ring to it. So I'm excited. I would like to get those UCLA-colored Big Ten shirts, though, and see if we can't. And maybe you and I can meet up for a game and try to lead the crowd into a Big Ten chant like they do with SEC.
Big Ten chant, yes. Let's do it.
I don't even know. How the heck would that even sound? SEC, we got 3 syllables.
B1G.
Oh, there you go. B1G. B1G.
Okay.
People would have no idea what we're talking about. That'd be fun.
Well, we got a fun show coming up for you. Damon Benning's like a regular these days. He was on with you last week. He was here, going to join us here in studio here tonight. So going to dive into the recap of the 7-on-7 event and what he took away. He also had a chance to chat with Trey Taylor, so we dive into that and what he learned about the quarterback, the 2028 commit there, and just fascinating kind of perspective. I mean, this is a kid that seems like he's 16 going on like 35, I think. So just great perspective there. And then, hey, we're going to have some golf picks. We've got a major coming up. This is your last show of the week. And remind me again who won the PGA Championship.
Well, it was you, but
Yes.
do we also have to remind people on how far off I was too? Like
Yes.
I wasn't even on the radar at the end too. So it's all
Are you
about
changing
redemption.
up the strategy today?
Yeah. Don't you worry. I got winners picked.
Okay, we'll see.
Yep.
So far, you have not done very well in this challenge, so
Nope.
we'll need you to pick it up this time. But I did want to, kick off. We had another commitment. There's just a ton of momentum right now with recruiting for Husker football. Just over the last couple of hours, another commitment coming in, the 5th commitment of the 2026 class, a big offensive tackle out of Arizona, Rex Waterman. But man, you could just feel it. And I just walked down to the field. There's the girls' camp going on. They've had camps going on all week. I mean, there's just you can feel it. There's a lot of momentum going on right now with in terms of just building for the future for this program.
And the Waterman commitment, I love what he had to say and all of the quote boxes being checked that Nebraska had. And we talked about how Friday could be very impactful for a lot of young prospective student athletes for this football program that maybe don't even have Nebraska on their radar, and saw those facilities, saw everything that Nebraska has to offer. You and I discussed this last night about getting into that facility and seeing all the fine details and the modernization that is a part of this facility that really stands out from every other facility in college football right now, and really in college athletics right now. And those impressions, whether they're first impressions or their third, fourth, re-solidifying type impressions, I feel like we're starting to see, I don't even say starting to, I think you just saw another example of the fruits of that labor and of that facility, and that starting to pay for itself when it comes to the investment that was put into it and what you ultimately wanted to get out of that, not only to take care of your current student athletes and be able to nurture them in the way that they need to be successful on and off the field, but also those prospective student athletes. And I think Rex Waterman, having seen that, knowing that he was a part of that elite junior day that we talked about, doesn't seem like it was that long ago when we were talking about that junior weekend, but I know he was part of that. He was offered in January, and being able to have that official visit and just see, again, to your point, not only the momentum, but a lot of the conversation, especially coming off of what we talked about yesterday with the revenue share and all those things, and where Nebraska's right there in the foreground of all of that. These are all great things when I think of student athletes talking about boxes being checked, but also that type of momentum that you discuss. I think it happens on so many fronts here in Lincoln.
I don't know if Donovan Raiola gets enough credit for his recruiting. I feel like he's kind of a quiet guy, obviously, but and he's very intense when he's coaching, but one of the nicest guys off the field. He's one of those linemen, whether defensive linemen, offensive linemen, that have that switch where they are mean on the field and could not be kinder off the field. But when I start talking to these guys, whether it's on signing day or the incoming transfers, and it just boy, they love the messaging from him and that culture in that O-line room. And it's such a process. I mean, this has been a conversation, a topic of discussion that we've been having for 4 years now with this offensive line. It just takes time to build. It's not a position that you can just, fix overnight on the portal. It just, because offensive linemen are built from within, and it's taken time. And I think it's getting to a point now where they feel really good about where that room is. And then, and you got to keep adding to it. That's the thing. Like, you can't take off a year. It's got to be every year. And so from the transfer portal guys that have played a lot of football to, some of these top recruits, tip of the cap to him and the job that he's done and getting guys to believe and buy into what he's done. And then, you want to talk about echoing kind of what the messaging is from their position coach. They believe in it, and they would follow him off a cliff. There's no doubt about it.
Well, and what I think is so cool about this particular example, because I'm with you on Donovan Raiola, I think that there was a reason that Matt Rule kept him around from the previous staff. And I think that there was a lot of what Matt Rule saw in Donovan Raiola that I think, he liked the canvas there and what Donovan Raiola brought to the table. But I also think that Matt Rule, having some experience working with both the offensive and defensive line in previous coaching roles, that he felt he could work with him too. And I think that there was a big part of being able to take him under his wing and really turn him into maybe one of the elite offensive line coaches. Because remember where Donovan Raiola came from, the Harry Heekstand School of Offensive Line Coaching too. And Harry Heekstand has, from Notre Dame to his time with the Chicago Bears, some of the most notable players, both professionally and collegiately, and also has a pretty remarkable coaching tree that he's had under him as assistant offensive line coaches, and Raiola was one of them. So I look at this Rex Waterman situation, 6'5", 295, a guy who's played offensive tackle.
But a guy ding, ding, ding.
But what's interesting is they envision him as an interior guy. And so you think about somebody who has been playing tackle his entire high school career. This is where he got noticed as having some very successful years as a high school offensive tackle. And you're selling him on, hey, we like you there at tackle. That's great. You've done well. But we think we can work you on the interior. If we can do that, would you still be on board? And it's a transition that Waterman really thinks he can make. And that, to me, is a pretty significant sell job from the coaching staff, especially Raiola, knowing that not only do we want you to play here, don't worry, we got your back, but we can also list off examples the way that he and that staff cross-train offensive linemen from tackle to guard or guard to tackle. And we've seen a lot of examples of that you have that proof right there. You can point to those examples as well. And I think the fact that you have a young man who trusts that transition and that opportunity, I think also speaks volumes of just that overall connection that they have and that Donovan Raiola has with these guys.
Yeah, and he talks about that a lot, just going through spring and fall camp. I mean, these guys are working out at a lot of different positions. You know, we had talked during the spring, they were down a few bodies. So there were guys that typically, you know, because they were maybe shorthanded at the tackle position, there were some guards that were playing tackle that probably won't play tackle, but they're being cross-trained there. I like that this kid plays tackle now, and then you can move them in. But, you know, that's kind of what this staff is really good at envisioning, you know, where they will be best fit, I guess. And but, you know, I like that, because that's one area where I think you need to continue to add to the tackle depth as well. I think we've continued to. That's been a kind of a topic that we've had the last couple of years, of just making sure that you got depth there on the outside linemen as well.
And that 2026 class, which Rex Waterman is now part of, you think about just their impact on the future of this program. We talked about that a lot, of what Friday and how that was significant on the upcoming recruiting cycles, and having all of those unique visitors for the battle at the Boneyard. But also you had official visits, Rex Waterman being one of them, those official visits for this weekend to take all of this in and be able to do some peer recruiting too. We've seen Trey Taylor being very active with the peer recruiting, but you look at Dayton Raiola, part of that 2026 recruiting class. You look at Jace Reynolds from Elkhorn North, another member of that 2026 recruiting class. You're seeing a lot of the guys that are starting to fill some positions that you know are going to be extremely important, because you are going to be graduating a lot of those key those positions I just mentioned there between quarterback and interior offensive linemen. You look at also from the wide receiving room as well. You're going to be classing a lot of guys out. And this is where you look at being able to re-solidify those positions. And to your point, too, with the offensive linemen being able to start stacking depth, so you have that next line, that 2026, like a Rex Waterman and other guys that are coming in. Jace Reynolds on the edge defensively for Elkhorn North. Those guys get in. They start learning from some of those upperclassmen. Or you're learning from a Cam Lenhart or a Riley Van Poppel. Rex Waterman's learning from a Justin Evans, is learning from some of those other guys that are going to be around there for the offensive interior, that they're not basically thrown in there and saying, okay, you guys have to contribute right away. It's a good process to be able to stack it with young, talented players, but also have a lot of those guys able to work with some of the better veterans on this team before it's going to be their time to shine.
Awesome. Great stuff. We got to get to a break because we got to got to have plenty of time to talk to DB. You know how he can get a little winded sometimes. Never fails. No, I'm gonna ask him about his favorite baseball movie because that became a topic all throughout last night's show. So we got to get his opinion because he's a baseball guy, as you know. So we're gonna get to a break, our first break here. But I also want to dive into here at this hour. There's a girls' camp going on down there, as mentioned, and there's a great turnout down there. So I wanted to dive into that as well here a little bit later this hour. So keep it here, plenty to come. And hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee, dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier. DB, up next on the other side of this.
Some days you hit snooze, but not today. Today you have to go on a run to get burgers for the tailgate. You've got to haul something heavy, a cooler stocked with Bud Light. When you've got beer and football, nothing is hard. Until the other team scores. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus, copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Huskers fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule. With your safety, our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or get us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your crawl space and damaging your home. Musty smells, sagging floors, mold are just a few signs your crawl space is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing. You pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody, and looky who we found in studio today. Damon Benning.
Yep, just out here loitering. I appreciate you corralling me.
You've been making regular appearances here on Sports Nightly.
Yeah, it's good to be wanted, right?
You kind of cheated on me last week.
I know. I apologize. Listen, Nick wouldn't have been my choice.
No, I told Nick to hit you up. So.
No, he was great. It was funny, and we didn't drive Camden too crazy. He was very explicit and specific with the times. And we maybe 1801, 1804-ish. We were told 18 minutes. So I was better than normal, but still not perfect.
I don't think we've been on the air together since the Husker games broadcast, if you could call it that.
No. Which I raved about the degree of difficulty about doing that. And I like the fact, and I told people, I said, one of the things that makes Jess cool is she knew right away this may not be very good for radio, but you didn't care. Like, you were just like, well, we're here, we're doing it, let's go. And I was traumatized, so that was cool.
I said at the end, I'm like, I don't know if
anybody's even listening.
But, I heard it's up for an award. No.
Sometimes you just, I can appreciate that because I can't, sometimes that's hard for me to be stretched like that when I know it may not be going the way I want it to.
Yeah. Oh, well, appreciate you stopping by. I wanted to get into a few things with you, but let's start with wrestling. Not many people are into wrestling like you and I are. Like, yes. I can't just text anybody about wrestling news.
Right.
And when that news dropped, when we saw the commitment post from AJ Ferrari on Saturday, you were the first person.
You were
first. I texted you. You're the first person.
I got a string of them, and I went back and looked at the time. I'm like, she beat you guys by 3.5 minutes. And I mean wrestling heads. I
was pretty shocked that I just didn't know. I know that they needed a couple people. They had a lot coming back, but I don't know. For those that are not big on the sport of wrestling, this is one of the biggest names in wrestling, right?
You could make the case for his talent, the biggest in the portal.
Yeah.
You could make the case.
So what was your initial reaction?
I couldn't believe it. I went back and I looked at the posts and I listened to him his IG post live. And I had a lot of questions. But the first thing I thought of was, wow, this is going to be really cool to watch unfold about nature versus nurture. Right? He's coming into an environment and a culture that, Coach Manning.
It's bigger than one guy.
Yep. Coach Manning and Coach Snyder, that staff, they have their fingerprints all over this thing. Other-centered family, this cohesive unit, highly competitive. Your wrestle-offs are tough. This is going to be interesting as AJ comes into this program as a guy that's known to have kind of just done his thing wherever he's been and taken the consequences as they've come. So the whole nature versus nurture thing was the first thing that I thought of.
I've had a lot of people asking me about that, and I go back to what you just said, the trust in Coach Manning. If he didn't think it was going to be a good fit, it wouldn't have happened, you know?
Yeah, and Coach Manning has had some toughies. And I think he believes in his process. He believes in his culture. He believes in his system. And I think the cool thing is it's not the first time that AJ has become familiar with Nebraska. He was on campus, I think, 3 or 4 years ago when they thought they had a crack at him the first time around. And so I think he does know a little bit about what he's getting with Coach Manning and this staff. But as you know, it's even bigger and better than you probably think from the outside. We've seen the ridges and the pintos, and I get it, on the greener pastures, but there's nothing Antrell Taylor hasn't been through. There are a lot of guys in this program under Coach Manning and his tutelage the last handful of years as they've kind of evolved to this freedom of movement kind of culture with college athletics. Coach Manning may be at it. This may be the best he's been at any stage in his career, which is saying something for the Silver Fox considering how long he's done it.
Yeah, and Jordan Burroughs was actually talking about that when he was on the call at the NCAA championships. That this year, these two teams have been something that he's been building. And, when I talked to him last year, as talented as that team was and as high as the expectations that they had for that group, off the air, you get a sense like, oh, wait till next year. We got some other guys coming in like that. They're reloading at this point. And, he's got it at a really good spot that just takes time to get there.
Yeah, it's been incredible. And that's coming from a guy, and you're right. I love the back and forth on the broadcast, and it's good to see JB kind of on that stage. And, I mean, we're talking about a guy in Jordan who we were trying to quantify Jordy Ball's accomplishments on the softball field. I said she's only got a few comps. And I immediately go back to that 2013-2014 season for Jordan here where he was 35-0. He had won every award, just the dominance. And so when you get a guy like that with that kind of pedigree that has been in this program that makes that kind of comparison to where Coach Manning has been, that's saying quite a bit.
It's funny you brought that up because Josh and I were talking off the air. It seems like, since I've been here certainly, this is the most excited that people have been, following wrestling outside of the season since I've been here. And he pointed out maybe Jordan Burroughs individually, but as a whole for the program, because they've got a lot of guys. There's so many of them that it seems like there's a lot of excitement and, just people are interested in this
and
sport.
Listen, you get it. When you're talking about wrestling nerds, you're obviously, I'm one of them. And I remember Coach Manning would have a top, 7 to 10 finish at Big Tens, and then they would do well at Nationals, and people would be concerned about the direction of the program. And, Coach Manning's a guy that has been a great family friend of ours, and his relationship with my dad forever. So I've kind of, I like to track the growth, and because I think I know what Coach Manning's about. And when you look at his development of the youth programs, how he's kind of changed his recruiting philosophies, how he's added to his staff, how the state has grown into this priority because it produces good wrestlers. Coach Manning's evolution and his growth individually is as much a part of this as anything. As somebody who fancies himself as a lifelong learner, he's actually put it to practice. He's just grown and evolved, and he's kept his core. Sounds a lot like the football coach, doesn't it?
There must be a reason why they're such good friends.
They get along amazingly, right? Well, I think it was the first non-football coach that Coach Rule had at practice as an integral part, even before Coach Cook, which is saying something. But it's just been fun to watch, and if this culture is definitely prepared. And I'm excited for AJ, where a guy that is immensely talented, they could use a little direction, a little guidance, a little leadership, a little modeled behavior. I'm excited. Now, the fans are going to have, it's going to be a transition for them too. I don't know if we'll be seeing splits or we won't be seeing splits or whatever we're going to do with that. But I'm not so much worried about that as holistically being excited about AJ being around, a chance to be around this program. I'm for young people.
And I think, look, bottom line, if this team wants to go compete with Penn State, you got to have guys that are getting points at all weight classes and a lot of points at that.
How shocked were you to say that he was currently at 230? I was like, I think the last time I saw he was 197. And I get it, wrestlers can do that. But it will be interesting to see where he lands, especially with the development of a guy like, Cade Ziola and some of these this class. They won't have any problems with competitive stamina. They will get plenty of competition in that wrestling room.
All right, 9 minutes into this, and we've only talked wrestling, basically. So let's talk some football, because you came on last week. There was a big push, a big event for Husker football with the 7-on-7 event. And seems like it was very, very well done. There was a ton of positives coming out of it. Overall, I mean, you were down here. What did you take away? Why was it such a success?
I can't believe how well they pulled it off. I'm shocked. I'm not just saying that because we're officially logged on to the Homer Network, but they're the first. We've seen some other schools try to dabble, but to blow out the 7-on-7, because they've hosted events, but to blow it out and make it kind of this recruiting weekend, the attention that was brought to it, the number of people in attendance, how well run it was done, how they coupled it with a recruiting weekend. You know, you had the Brumballs, and you had guys in on actual visits while that's going on, and you're targeting 27s, 28s, 29s in some instances. The level of efficiency in which they pulled this off is pretty understated, because you get to see how great it was. They had to have worked their tail off. This could not have been easy to pull it off as smooth as they did, and it's already paying dividends.
Okay, so for those that might not be super familiar with the 7-on-7 world, what makes a good 7-on-7 event?
So I think number one is the quality of teams that want to come, right? When you have national competitions and then to allow for it to be sponsored and to call it a camp, there are some concessions that those teams are making too, to give up some of their individuality and the freedom to kind of move and do and reap the benefits, to have people fly you out. You know, you're giving up some of that to come and participate in a camp setting. That's not always easy to do with some of the 7-on-7 folks, especially as successful as some of these 7-on-7 teams are. And then to do it in conjunction and be willing to be a part of the sponsors and make it kind of a recruiting weekend, I think it was a pretty big deal.
How do you foresee just the high school recruiting changing now with the roster limit? Is it still going to be let's get 25 guys or?
So I think you're going to have to do your due diligence, right? I think the schools that will have success will still do the bulk of their recruiting at the high school level. I just don't think you can be a turn and burn
every year.
And I think the good coaches know that. You want a 2-year starter. You want a 3-year starter. You want to be able to supplement the portal and not supplant, right? Because it's too hard to maintain, I think. So along those lines, 25 may be high some years. It may not in some others. But what I think Nebraska has really done a good job of is making sure they're establishing relationships with young people that show interest in Nebraska. I can't stress enough how important I think it is for young people. If you want to be at this university, and I think Nebraska is going to win, they're recruiting like a top 15-ish, top 20 program with their mentality. Hey, it's not so much what we can do for you. You need to understand what you can do for us. This is a great place to be. Record aside, record be damned, this is a great place to be. We need you to think as highly of this place as we do. And it's just cool because it's not always like that. Yeah. And Coach Rule has been unapologetic and made no excuses for Nebraska's last 5 to 10 years. He's actually embraced it and said, this is a place where we can win. We can win at a high level. We need good players, don't get me wrong, but they need to be in on us as much as we are on them. And I think the fact that they're doing that with some of these young guys, like I said, 28s, 29s, about how important this place is, that's going to resonate down the road when they want to go back and recruit the high school areas as well as they've been doing.
What's great about that, too, is that they're also able to hone in on guys that have that mentality and mindset that are actually talented, too.
Yes.
That hasn't been something that we've seen as much of, but it's continuing to grow with the staff, that you're getting these very highly talented and sought-after guys that do have that mentality, which you don't always find.
And the Cantwells, and last year it was, who's the young man that ended up, David Sanders Jr., and these guys that have been on campus. And that's the mentality that I'm talking about when I say they're recruiting like a top 15, top 20 program in terms of their targets. They're not settling. They just trust their recruiting evaluation and their process. We've seen it with C.J. Brumball, right? Nebraska was his first offer. I mean, he'll be in Florida on a visit in 2 weeks, right? So Nebraska understands the role that they play in terms of, well, we may be first, we may not be the best right now, but we're going to shoot our shot. And I think the high school guys know that. Nebraska believes that in terms of their philosophy. And so when they do start winning, Jess, I'm telling you, the sky's going to be the limit for these guys.
I've been so impressed with these younger groups of guys. I mean, Caleb's group included, but that are committing now, that have signed recently. that have appreciated, and a big part of their decision has been Coach Rule's honesty, because a lot of times at that age, you don't want to hear that kind of honesty. Yep. I think that's been impressive, just those types of guys that they're able to get here that appreciate that from the get, being a 15, 16, 17-year-old guy.
It's the whole simple versus easy thing. I talk about it all the time. Coach Rule says something really simple that's not always easy to execute. He says, I'm the way I am with my authenticity and shooting guys straight because I don't want to have to go back and get anything that I said previously. And I mean, how simple would life be if we just thought like that? But it's hard to execute. And so I think he wants to be somebody that does what he says he's going to do and follows through. So, but with that, you're going to get the real thoughts and the real opinions, because he doesn't want to have to go back and get it. So he doesn't like to leave things to chance. And I think ultimately, all young people just, they want to be led. We complain a lot about, young people this and young people that. A lot of it is how they were raised, right? They come by it honestly. And so I like the fact that he holds himself accountable by being a truth teller.
Certainly one of those guys that were so impressive is the quarterback commit for 2028.
Yeah, Trey Taylor.
Trey Taylor. And you actually had a chance to interview him this morning on your show. I was blown away. I was like, that kid's 16.
Yeah.
And you weren't throwing him softballs either.
Right.
But,
because I thought he was capable. I thought he was capable of handling in-depth questions because I've watched him the last couple of weeks. I saw him on Friday. He was down for the spring game. And so I've kind of watched his mannerisms from afar. And I've listened to a few of his other quick hits. And I'm thinking, you know what? He's capable. Let's see what's in there in terms of why he's the way he is. And you're right, he did not disappoint. There were some things that he said where, I kind of sat back in my seat. I'm like, and I asked him, I said, wait, you've been driving for how long? A year and 2 months. Your birthday's when? September 2nd. You're how old? You're 6. Because I wanted people to I wanted them to quantify the answers that they were actually getting. Where you talk about his maturity. And what did he say? He said, I understand there's eyes on me at all time. So it's not just their standard. It's the standard that I've set for myself.
And if you want to be a leader, you
have to take what comes with that. And I was like, well, where does that self-inventory come from? Like, most of us aren't that self-aware real time.
Especially at 16.
Right? And he said, it's day to day. He said, I'm not worried about my workout this afternoon with my team. I'm worried about finishing this speed workout now. And as long as I stay focused and in the moment, I'm going to be just fine. And I was thinking, wow.
A lot of times when they commit that young, look, anything can happen, right?
Yeah.
And it is the name of the game of recruiting. You get guys, you lose guys, you might get a late commitment that decommitted from somewhere else. It's just kind of how it happens every year. And so sometimes I hesitate to talk about the early commitments, but with a guy like him, I have
seems like
he's locked in, right?
He gives you peace, doesn't he? Just the way that he's peer recruiting, the things that he says about Nebraska, because what he's talking about isn't always tangible. So he must feel it from being here. So him to try to relay that to players and say, hey, listen, I'm telling you, there's something different about these guys. Get in while the getting's good. It's going to be tougher because they're gonna start to win. And I like that because it's not just about, hey, cool facilities. We love that. Or, hey, such and such was nice to me. When you start getting kind of in the weeds about why you feel the way you feel about people, and it's not just topical, I think he's committed.
I said that the day.
You're right. Anything can happen, but still.
Yeah, I mean, long ways to go, but he has given me more confidence than most 16-year-old guys that have committed to programs.
I was blown away.
I said it the day that he committed. I said, typically those first commitment guys are your best recruiters, and we'll see how he takes on that role. I would say he's done that.
Isn't it amazing? And he embraces it.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, listen, this is special. I want you to be a part of it. Let's do this together. And I'm thinking, not bad.
All right, we got to get you out of here on this, but I said I'd ask. Last night we got into this discussion about best baseball movies. You got to, what's your number one?
Oh, you're going to laugh. I have two.
Okay.
One is for the love of the game.
Okay.
I am a big for the love of the game guy, and people think it's kind of cheesy, but I love the whole clear the mechanism and.
That's like you're what is it? Like
I feel like there's a passive aggressive pot shot coming.
You say those kinds of things.
Yeah,
those
like
philosophical thoughts.
I love for the love of the game. I love the natural. I'm a big Roy Hobbs guy. Hey kid, go pick me out a winner.
I think that was Nick's number 2. We had a couple people text that in too.
I like The Sandlot. It doesn't make that cut. And the most popular baseball movie I've never seen is Field of Dreams. So I can't really speak to that, but
I think you'd be pretty emotional watching that one.
That's the thing. You know, like you get me. It's just too heavy, especially now to go back and get after having lost my dad. So I'm not probably going to ever go back and get that. So I wouldn't fight anybody over Field of Dreams. I've just never seen it. But I'll give you kind of a little sneaky one I like is the original Bad News Bears. And this isn't because I watched a player hit a ball she was intentionally supposed to be walked on, but Kelly Leak from the Bad News Bears that was the original guy that hit a ball in which he was being intentional walk. I'm a big Walter Matthau guy, so I like the Bad News Bears.
We'll just stick with baseball movies today because that's a whole other topic when you start throwing in some of the other sports. Thank you so much for being here with us again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Anytime.
Damon Benning joining us here on Sports Nightly. We're going to step aside for a break. More of the show coming up after this.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing, you pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Your next vehicle is waiting for you at Woodhouse. With over 20 locations and a variety of brands, Woodhouse offers everything from reliable trucks to family-friendly SUVs. Whether you're looking for a Nissan, Mazda, or Infiniti, our team is here to help you find the perfect fit. Enjoy a seamless car buying experience with our expert staff and exceptional service. Visit Woodhouse today, where quality, selection, and customer satisfaction come first. Or get started online at woodhouse.com.
In the game of life, we all face tough moments. Sometimes it feels like we're up against a formidable block with no way through. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the final set. Reach out, speak up, and let's bump, set, and spike this challenge together. Because in Nebraska, we're more than players. We're a supportive community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every serve, every pass. Go Big Red. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
They say consistency is the key to success.
they weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. Nick Hanley, I'm Jessica Coody. Hey, continuing on the conversation, Wally chimed in about baseball movies and his favorite. And here's a new one for you, Nick. Trouble with the Curve. No? I haven't seen it, so I can't weigh in.
It's okay. I mean, if I expanded it to a top 25 list.
Top 25 baseball list?
Right.
It was not on ChatGPT, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't. No. I mean, that probably wasn't even the top 10, according to my list in ChatGPT, which were aligned. There's no way ChatGPT, I checked it, by the way. It does not have long gone. So was it Crypto who said mine was exactly?
He also is telling people it's your birthday. So I thought I was like, you're a horrible friend and co-host by not having a birthday party for you tonight, but that's false too.
Hold on to those birthday wishes till the new year in January. That's when that happens. We still got a long way. I'm not 47 anytime soon. But Trouble with the Curve is okay. It's fine. I mean, I don't know. Something about Justin Timberlake, by the way, is a scout, and he's trying to become a radio play-by-play guy as well. And there's a few times he tries to do the play-by-play. And it's very Justin Timberlake-like. So
did he sing
great.
it?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, he's like, and he's to the wall. And it's like, no.
Sounded just like him. You got to get a spot-on Justin Timberlake impression.
People who know me, that movie doesn't drive me nearly as crazy as Summer Catch. And I'm glad no one has brought up Summer Catch because it could have been a great movie. As far as doing a movie about the Cape Cod League and everything and all of its history, would have been great. But the Freddie Prinze Jr. effect of it, of a guy who literally takes himself out of a perfect game in the Cape Cod League to be with the girl. Come on. Let's get real. No scout is chasing that guy. So.
Hopefully you're not hurting anybody's feelings that that's their favorite movie. So
it's just my opinion. If you like it, I respect your opinion. I just don't. So that's just me.
Freddie Prinze Jr. was like the king of teen movies back then, though.
Yeah. And you remember that 70s show?
I never watched that show.
Okay. Well, they had Fez. Fez was his name was Fez because he was a foreign exchange student. That's why he was Fez. Fez is the second baseman in that movie, too. And then Matthew Lillard, who is the 6'3", 165-pound catcher, which that also is very believable. Again, the realistic touches, I really appreciate that, and Summer Catch did not have that for me.
All right, on that note, let's get to our final break. We're back to wrap-up hour number 1 coming up after this.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your foundation and damaging your home. Cracks in walls and uneven floors are just a few signs your foundation is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back. Final segment here of hour number one of Sports Nightly. Nick, I wanted to make sure and mention the girls' camp that's going on right now. I've walked down there a couple times, and there's a great turnout, and this is something that they started last year, and we've been talking a lot about the 7-on-7 for girls, for women's football, and we had it at the Husker games. But there's a great turnout out there, and it's cool. They've got stations set up, and some of the current players are out there working with, and there's multiple ages of girls, from second grade or third grade on into high school, and so all levels there, learning some techniques and both offense, defense. They rotate around, and then they're on a break right now. It's hot out there, by the way. They're going to come back and play some 7-on-7. So I'm going to try to sneak down there again. But this again, shout out to Dr. Susan Elza, who's been a really big catalyst in a lot of these camps. With the whole camp crew, they've been grinding. I've talked to a couple of them here over the last couple of days. I mean, it's been nonstop here over the last few days. But I love that they added this and they brought it back, and it looks that it's grown from last year to this year, the girls' camp. And the demand, excuse me, Jessica, we talked about. It's the name of the camp, by the way. She's got game. I like that. Yeah. She's got game. All right. Go ahead. See, we got the battle at the boneyard. She's got game. I mean, gosh, again, the creativity, it never stops. That sport, as we know, is growing and amongst the female persuasion, which I think is awesome. And again, this is another example of Nebraska getting out ahead of this, because if and when this becomes a varsity sport at the University of Nebraska, or the Nebraska Schools Activities Association sanctions this as a high school sport. We saw it happen when you had women's wrestling in high school in the state of Nebraska. That got to have amazing numbers. And I love that you have, like, you're telling me that there's even more campers this year than there was a year ago. That tells me, A, Nebraska's doing it right. They're attracting people to come in and to see this, in all of these ladies to be able to get into all of the drills and to have that desire to play the sport and to learn more about the sport. So it tells me that Nebraska's doing their part, but also that increase in numbers shows me exactly what we've seen in the last year, that popularity amongst females with this sport and having that opportunity to participate is huge. And I think that is going to lead to opportunities both at the high school level and the collegiate level. I also love too, and I want to mention this. There's some big name guys out there right now that are helping. And, Coach Roll came on and talked after the spring game. One of the times that I was talking to him about, just kind of, I think it was going into the Husker games, about being able to showcase some of their personalities. This is a great group of guys, and I think you really see it on these kinds of events when you're seeing them really get in there, and they're not just there to be there. They're actually like helping and enjoying it, and it's just it's just great to watch. And this is there's a lot of great guys on this football team and it's on display right here in a situation like this. Yeah, the connecting with the student athletes, I've seen that at the baseball level, even when my son has gone to certain games, and these players will stop what they're doing. They come out, just a simple fist bump, and you see it seems like the players like it just as much as the participants or the kids or the campers in that situation. And so it's just, I think you just feel as a fan more connected to the student athletes when you get to see them on that level. And you just said it, with the women and the young girls, and then actually getting to interact, you're getting more fans on board. Absolutely. To support this program. So never a negative on that front. All right, that's going to wrap up hour number one, fast hour here on Sports Nightly, but still plenty to come here. Hour number two, including we're going to make some golf picks. Keep it here. Hour number two of Sports Nightly coming up after this.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
What's going on, Husker Nation? Jake Schrantz with you for our Sports Ticker, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. First off, with some Nebraska softball news, the Huskers revealed their 2026 Big Ten and tournament schedule, which includes 4 tournaments, 4 home series, and 4 road conference series. The season opens for Nebraska at the UTSA Invitational in San Antonio, Texas, on February 6th through February 8th, before they travel to Clearwater, Florida, for the ESPN Clearwater Invitational from February 12th through the 15th. The Big Red will face off with teams like Texas Tech, Tennessee, and UCLA, all of whom made the 2025 Women's College World Series. If you're looking for more info on that schedule announcement, head on over to Huskers.com for more. Also today, in Husker track and field news, the nationally ranked Nebraska teams will have 14 entries at the NCAA Outdoor Championships this Wednesday through Saturday at Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. Coming into the competition, the men are 6th and the women are 23rd in the USTF CCCA Week 10 polls. The women lead the way in the javelin event, while the men sit atop both the javelin and high jump rankings. Around the MLB tonight, plenty of games to watch out for. Just a couple of scores for you. The Yankees lead 2-0 over the Kansas City Royals midway through the second inning. In the middle of the second, the Rangers and Twins still scoreless in that one, and the Blue Jays up 3-0 over the St. Louis Cardinals in the second inning. Some more games coming up. Chicago White Sox and Houston Astros in just a couple of minutes as the busy schedule in the MLB continues throughout the night. Call a timeout. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Time for Hour 2 of Sports Nightly on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
The siege and behind the screen, dances around, hezzy move, pump fake, out it comes to Jacobson, puts it up and in! Holy smokes! Way to go, Cale! Cale Jacobson from Ashland, Nebraska, into the starting lineup 3 games ago, hits a huge, humongous, gigundous 3.
Runs and deals. Ball swings and lets the fly ball to left. Colvin going back to the wall, and it's good! Home run, Jordy Bull! A towering drive to left field by Jordy Bull, and that ties the school record for home runs in a season by a Husker. Allie Viola, you've got company. It's the best player in college softball with her 3rd home run of the weekend. Jordy Bull.
Bump set left. Almodovar's in the front row. She tips it. Doug. Huskers own it. Set left. Harper again. Over dig and out. Floyd Harper Murray in the Big Red. She's carrying him. That's 18 kills for Harper. It's 25-24 Nebraska.
Now, here are your hosts, Jessica Coody and Nick Hanley, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Sports Nightly with Nick Hanley and Jessica Coody. Nick, there's a couple of news items, I guess, that came out today, and with men's college basketball, one of those being that coaches are going to have challenges, and so there's certain things that they can challenge, and some of those being out-of-bounds calls, basket interference / goaltending calls, blocked charges, and the restricted area at any point in the game. But you do have to have a timeout to have that challenge. It would have been nice if Coach Hoiberg had that a couple times last year, right?
Yep.
I'm glad that they're doing it. I think it needed to happen.
Yeah, and we know how the last 2 minutes of the game will go, especially it seems like it's amplified in the NCAA tournament when you have official reviews. When the ball's going out of bounds. And I feel like as lengthy as sometimes those can seem, I feel like, first of all, we've gone through that part of it enough with the video review that I think it's okay to implement this. It's not like you get 4 or 5 of them a game. I just think that as long as you're doing this in an expedited manner and you're not seeing these overly long pauses in the game, especially as you're just getting the game going, because that's the worst thing is when you're looking for a great finish down the stretch and all of a sudden every little ball that looks like it might have went back and forth, you've got to review it. I can appreciate getting the call right, But at the end of the day, I think this is the right thing to do because we want to see these officials have the resources that they have. And why shouldn't the teams benefit from that? You have video replay for a reason. It was set at a certain time of a game before. Now let's allow with the replay review folks and also the officials, I think have done it long enough to keep it moving along and not spend so much time to where it would cause noticeable delays.
This per the NCAA, other enhancements to help with the flow of the game, focus on the points of emphasis for officials for this season. These will include directives to address delay of game tactics, limit time spent at the monitor, improve game administration efficiency, and reduce physicality. So that is something that I think they're trying to address. But with so many games in the Big Ten coming down to one possession, and look, they're human, right? I mean, I come from a family of officials. My brother refs women's college basketball. My dad refed my entire life. They're human, right? I mean, I'm not one that's going to ever blame, losses, but I do think that there are times that there's some pretty big calls made that could impact the games when they're that close, one possession games. That I like the fact that coaches can have that challenge and those big moments that you can maybe utilize that to your benefit, that maybe it does change the outcome. Who knows? We'll see. But I like that they have the opportunity to be able to challenge that late in the game.
Yeah, there's a consistency that you and I both saw in the Big Ten last year, and we've seen it, unfortunately, in college basketball officiating. It's been an issue where, it's not – I don't want to pile on one conference to the other. I think it was a college basketball-wide thing over the last 5 years where there have just been certain games that have been officiated one way, and then it will change from half to half. And this isn't – we're not talking about replay as opposed to how you might let – certain things slide in the first half, but then all of a sudden you get very whistle happy in the second half. And you're right. I've said this about baseball as well. I mean, that human element, I think it's still very necessary in the sport and in these sports. But I think as we continue to see more technology implemented in the game and these resources to allow these officials to have a chance to slow things down, to not have to always just rely on what they saw in real time when you have that opportunity, as long as it's not, again, 5 or 10 a half, and it's not dragging the games to a half hour, 45 minutes longer than they need to be. Why not use this advancement in technology to make sure that from the players and the coaches' standpoint and the official standpoint that everybody is getting the calls right, or at least you're having that opportunity to make sure once it's slowed down that everyone's getting everything right. I mean, I think that if you have that technology, why not use it?
So in baseball, who makes that call to call down to the dugout, hey, let's challenge this?
So the crew chief for the umpiring crew, and you'll see coach will come out and say, hey, I want to challenge. He'll talk to the crew chief. Everybody always assumes it's the home plate umpire. In some occasions, the crew chief is the home plate umpire, but sometimes he might be the second base umpire. But you'll see the crew chief, and then the guy that would have been closest to whatever play is subject to review will go in and take a look at that. So, yeah, that'll go right to the crew chief. But with the automatic balls and strikes, the ABS system that we're seeing in minor league baseball, and that eventually will be in Major League Baseball as well, to be able to challenge it, that thing to me is fantastic because it is a split second. As soon as an umpire says the Omaha Storm Chasers are challenging that ball was a strike and not a ball, all of a sudden it just pops up the automated strike zone and you can go right there. And, I mean, it takes a matter of seconds to get that call right. So, again, there's the expedience part of it, which is great. And you can do that more frequently when you have that type of expedience. Obviously, these replays where you have to walk over to the monitor, put the headset on, then you have to slow it down frame by frame, takes a little bit longer. But, again, it's the technology that you have. You should be able to use it. I meant who is when there's a Nebraska wants to challenge, use their coach's challenge. Who is helping Will Bolt navigate that? Because, I'll use volleyball for a reference. Coach Cook always talked about, which players he believes or doesn't believe in terms of when you utilize that green card or whatever. So who is, and in football, there's a million eyes and you got headsets on, it's pretty immediate. So when baseball, who's helping Coach Bolt make the decision, if he doesn't have a great view of it, determine whether he wants to pull that challenge? And that's where it's very unique, because in a lot of those other examples you brought up, they have eyes in the sky. They have folks in the booth, looking above them. I know hockey has that as well, where you have some coaches that are up top in the press level so they can see down and they're able to communicate with someone on the bench. For baseball, it's interesting. You're going off of what your eyes saw, but you're also going off what the player in question is telling you. And so it's a collaborative effort of basically what everyone is seeing. And what's kind of interesting is they're all seeing it from a similar vantage point. But this is where I think the player really has a lot of input on what should or should not be challenged. I've seen it a couple of times where something looked like it should have been challenged, and a player looked immediately at the dugout and shook his head, no, don't do it.
And then I'm sure, just like Coach Cook talks about, I'm sure you get some players are like, yeah, once you lose a couple, I don't know if we're going to rely on you to do that anymore.
Yeah, you told us to challenge that last one, and you were way off. We didn't win that one, so I'm sorry. We're not going off of what you say again.
Hey, before we get too far from basketball, I did want to dive into this too, because I didn't have a chance to get to it last night, but Bryce Williams has been working out all over across the NBA. He was with the Golden State Warriors. He's with the Dallas Mavericks, and we've heard Coach Hoiberg and the staff talk about the scouts that came in that were really intrigued by him. The draft is coming up June 25th, so it is around the corner. I'm just kind of fascinated by that, because he's a scorer and he can score at all three levels. And so just I'm anxious to see kind of where his story goes as we get closer and closer to the draft, because it seems like he's winning some people over. That people have been impressed with what he's been doing when he's had these workouts.
Well, and think of him as a UDFA because of the steady increase of not only his scoring, but as a volume scorer too. And I mean, you've seen it firsthand, that athleticism, that he makes it look effortless on the court. And it just, I might be off in saying this, but I think we're still scratching the surface with what Bryce Williams can ultimately be as a basketball player at the pro level. And I think there's a reason that there's some second and third and fourth looks at him, because the body
there's
is
something
there. Absolutely, there is.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's the body, there's the physical part of it with him. He's got the long range shot. He's got the ability, and I thought this year especially, he showed that ability to finish at the rim, to really be able to get himself to the free throw line. So he's given you a variety of ways to score, both beyond the arc, but more importantly inside. And I just think that there is a lot that I think people are very intrigued by, and knowing that you can essentially get him for a bargain. I think this is a guy that is demanding a lot of those looks for a reason.
I mean, he's just got so much upside and so many tools that you think would translate. Right. And, I think even if he is a undrafted free agent, quote unquote, I go back to a guy like Austin Reeves. Now, I'm not saying Bryce Williams is going to turn out like Austin Reeves, but Austin Reeves is now, he didn't get drafted, and he's with the Lakers. He's starting and making a heck of an impact. So it's not like it's impossible to not, get a chance with the right team and then make the team and solidify your spot and, show that you can play at that level. I thought it was fascinating, though, when he was talking, it was at the Crown tournament, and I think, I'm not sure, it might have been Gus asked him about, what are the critiques that you're hearing? And he had just said that I'm probably not emotional enough and he talked about how his dad instilled that in him from a young age. And my dad always talked about that, having a poker face. So I don't see that as a negative, that he's not overly emotional. I don't doubt his competitiveness. I don't know, I guess, but that he had said that was one of his biggest critiques. I found that kind of interesting.
Isn't that funny too, where you're trying to just have a very even keel approach, and that can actually be considered a negative. When I think of you brought up on Austin Rivers, but when I think of the different types of players they end up going the UDFA route, it's the ones that find that not only the right organization, but the perfect role. And that's where I think, again, there's a lot of upside to Bryce Williams, because he can do a variety of things. He can be a swingman 2 and a 3. So I think there is that ability for him to find that type of role in the right organization. And again, I go back to the athleticism and just the effortless nature of how he gets it done, both offensively and defensively. that I think there could be a home for him. And who knows? We've seen this a lot of times where there's been some college basketball players that you could always see had talent, but maybe it never really came to the top like you thought it would, or that cream never rise to the top like you thought it would at the college game. But all of a sudden they find a good spot in the NBA. As an undrafted free agent, they work themselves in a developmental league type situation. They come up and all of a sudden they find a spot, and it's a spot that really suits their style and really accommodates their skill set. And I just look at the type of player that Bryce Williams has shown to be, that I think there is that potential out there for him to find that type of an organization and that type of a role where he could be a guy that once he would have that opportunity to get up there, could be up there for a while.
You know, I think, too, people maybe question what he can do on the defensive end, but Coach Hoiberg went to bat for him several times and just said, with the heavy load he had to carry scoring, that is just a lot to ask of someone when you are having to score 25, 30 points a game for your team to win and then have to turn around. And so I don't know if that it's fair to say that I don't know if we know yet what kind of defender he could be and how he can develop into that, because he was just expected to carry such a heavy load on the offensive end. I mean, look at Caitlin Clark. Like, she didn't play much defense. You know, I mean, it's just when you are expected to be that kind of offensive player, a lot of times it's hard to continue to carry that same kind of effort to the defensive end.
Well, and what I liked about him, too, is if we go back to the previous year, you have that complementary scoring where Bryce did not have to be the guy. You had Rink Mass, you had Casey, you had other options where he wasn't the guy that had to necessarily get them going. And if he didn't, that all of a sudden this team was in trouble. They had other scoring options. Last year, until they established some of those scoring options and not having a healthy Rink Mass, and he's out for the year, he knew that role would increase. He was going to have to be one of the better players at his position and be one of the standouts in the Big Ten. And there was pressure that came with that. But I thought he embraced that extrememely well, and he turned out to be that guy. A lot of times it's, okay, we need you to be that guy, but then that guy doesn't become that person. He doesn't have that type of scoring threat or scoring instinct, or at least can do it in volume on a consistent basis. Down the stretch, and I know Nebraska kind of played themselves off of the bubble in the NCAA tournament, but it wasn't necessarily because of Bryce Williams. It was more of a, whether he was a one-man scoring show because shots weren't falling or whatever it was, but there were pretty much every night he was putting up solid, good double-figure numbers. And I just think that there's so many times where you put the weight of the world on somebody to be that tone setter when they didn't have to be the year before, and that can be such a tough transition for anybody. I thought Bryce Williams handled it extremely well, and I think he ultimately was the player that Nebraska needed him to be. Yeah, absolutely. It's also going to be interesting to see. I think it will go back to being less of a one-man offensive show. I think they've got multiple options with Rink Mass coming back, and we saw Connor Sejan really kind of get it going. So I think it'll be more a by committee than it was last year, but I am going to start the newcomer series that we do every summer this week with the women's basketball. So we'll be hearing from some of those new guys. There's a lot of them. This is kind of crazy with volleyball, men's and women's basketball. Like last year, there were only 3 newcomers for women's basketball. There were only 2 for volleyball, and men's basketball had a handful. But this year's so many for all 3 of them. I'm going to have to get to work to get them all in. Yeah, the part about between the women's basketball program and then obviously the men's basketball program, not only some, it is kind of interesting though with the women's basketball program. You and I talked about this not that long ago. There's a lot of complementary pieces, but you're not bringing in necessarily that elite score because you didn't need to. Yeah, and for Nebraska, it's funny. I feel like the best addition that they got out of the offseason is a healthy Rink Mass. Even though you got some very intriguing additions to this basketball roster that can help out offensively, I think knowing that you can have a healthy Rink Mass that obviously not only healthy but is deciding to stay true to his word and his allegiance to this program and say, yeah, I said I would come back when I'm healthy. I am healthy, and I am coming back. That's a huge lift for what you can do around him, but what he can do both outside the paint and inside the paint. So, but all of those new faces, I think they're going to be important roles. It's just going to be interesting to see how many minutes, and ultimately what they can do for people who are currently on that roster. If they can help them, like I think of a Britt Prince, if she can expand her game, because you're bringing in some players that have some Big Ten experience that maybe necessarily weren't 15 point or more a night scorers, but had minutes and have that experience in the conference and can be someone to lean on as Britt Prince also looks for her game to evolve now into her sophomore year.
So it was move-in day over the weekend, and so the newcomers are officially moved in. And, with basketball, they have the luxury of being able to practice, and they both teams were I went into the gym or into the facility yesterday, and both teams were had players. I think women's basketball actually had a practice today, I believe, but they had guys, there were balls bouncing in both practice gyms, and so that's always fun too. And this is a important part. Coach Hoiberg always talks about that, just the culture being developed and the guys getting together and kind of growing that chemistry with so many newcomers. This is an important time, but they're back. And they are back to work in the gym. So we'll start hearing from some of those new faces to both those teams and Husker volleyball here coming up over the next couple of months. All right, we got to get to a break here. Hour number 2 of Sports Nightly. Hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier.
This season, step up to the plate with exceptional offers at Woodhouse Ford. For a limited time, you pay what we pay, with exclusive employee pricing on the full lineup of award-winning vehicles. From the built tough F-150 to the versatile Bronco, it's your chance to drive home a new Ford with a deal that truly knocks it out of the park. View inventory and our exclusive offers online, or visit Woodhouse Ford at our 3 locations in Blair, Omaha, and Plattsmouth.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Sunday morning. You can smell it. Game day. And the brisket you've been smoking since last night. A day to be with family, aka fellow football fans. Traditions make Sundays easy to enjoy. Beers do too. Bud Light. Easy to Sunday, easy to enjoy. Bud Light is the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus. Copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Your next vehicle is waiting for you at Woodhouse. With over 20 locations and a variety of brands, Woodhouse offers everything from reliable trucks to family-friendly SUVs. Whether you're looking for a Nissan, Mazda, or Infiniti, our team is here to help you find the perfect fit. Enjoy a seamless car buying experience with our expert staff and exceptional service. Visit Woodhouse today, where quality, selection, and customer satisfaction come first. Or get started online at woodhouse.com.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing. You pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly with Nick Haley. I'm Jessica Coody. And there's been a lot of news and nuggets and things dropped since the House settlement became official with the NCAA and then the revenue share, all of that. We're learning more and more as the days go on and hearing a lot of people's opinions and all of that. When I was down in Oklahoma, my grandpa was asking me about it, and my dad too. And I think that's been one thing that people have not been a fan of just kind of the wild, wild west. And it sounds like they're trying to implement some things that are going to help put, I guess, if you can, put the genie a little bit back in the bottle. And it was reported today that there will be an NIL Go and that athletes will have to submit deals to that NIL Go within 5 days of signing. And the schools will be held accountable if their athletes fail to submit. And so they're going to, again, try to track and make sure that you're making the right amount of money for the deals that you sign outside of the, the rev sharing part of it. But I'm fascinated to see if they can try to get a handle on the wild, wild west moving forward in this deal.
And I think this is the one positive. Well, I shouldn't say the one positive.
Oh, you got your Runza hat on.
I did. I forgot. I promised to do it in hour 2. So here is the infamous Runza hat. I shouldn't say infamous, the very famous Runza hat.
Nice.
For people outside of Nebraska, though, they think, why are you wearing a hat that has a burrito?
It looks like a Twinkie to me. In my monitor, from how far you are, it looks like a Twinkie to me. So I need to see it in person, I guess.
It's a cheese Runza. You got the yellow. The only thing I don't like about this hat, I'm a Bears fan. This is Green Bay Packer colors. I'm not wild about that. But when it's supporting Runza, I will do it. But yeah, it's the cheese right there. Cheese
okay,
in there,
yeah.
And the beef, and then there's our bun. So anyway.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I know.
You
I kind of threw you for a loop when I threw that on there.
The monitors are down, so I'm only seeing you when you pop up once we get going. And I'm like, whoa, there's a Runza hat.
and it's golden glory, I know. But as far as a lot of the I think one of the main benefits goes without saying, and that is the student athletes are having even more earning power. Okay, and I think that in the modern thinking of the business model of all of these TV deals is that it does make sense for the student athletes to have a piece of that pie. And I think that there was always this feeling where I wouldn't go as far as saying student athletes were exploited. I know there are some people, guys that I respect every day of the week, like a Jay Billis, would always go as far as saying student athletes and exploitation. I didn't like that word being used because I still think having a free education, having all of the gear and some of the other opportunities that you get when you are done playing in certain places that you may not have, because of the connections that you do build by being a student athlete, those can serve you very well in the future. So I don't want to make it sound like they were totally exploited. But when you are seeing billion-dollar deals, TV deals being done, or at least close to that you are wondering, okay, we're putting our bodies on the line every day for this entertainment. Shouldn't there be something for us? And I think that is a modern way of looking at that. So I've always been about the student athletes having that opportunity to be compensated to some degree. But I think for the coaches, until this happened, there was that compensation opportunity with name, image, likeness, but there was zero guardrails. There was no policing of this. And the thing that I think frustrated coaches more than anything is they're having to not only put in the time of hours on top of being a head football coach, but put in the hours to recruit, to build for the future, but also to re-recruit that current roster because you have so many people poaching, so many people working underground channels, guys that haven't even put themselves in the transfer portal yet, as you know, are getting contacted and no one can do anything about it. And even when there has been reported instances of that, what has ever come out of it? Nothing. There's no guardrails. So at least when it does come to this NIL clearinghouse, any deal that's over $600 has to go through the clearinghouse, has to go through the proper channels, the protocols, and you're held accountable for not only what type of work you're doing to earn that type of money for the name, image, likeness, but they stay on top making sure that that student athlete is fulfilling that obligation. So it's not just, okay, yeah, you're going to make an appearance here and we're going to pay you X amount of dollars. Like there's now a protocol. And, is it going to solve everything? No. I think you'd be naive to think that.
And will it even work at this point? Do we know if it's going to work,
And that's, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But I think if you can put some type of clearinghouse and at least some type of oversight on this, hey, it's better than what it was when there was zero oversight. There was you better not or we'll come after you. Nobody took that serious. Look at what Miami did 2 years ago with basketball. I mean, that was a joke.
Yeah.
Nothing ever happened. And so I think everyone was calling the NCAA out on their bluff. Now with an established clearinghouse, at least there's something put in place to try. Like you said, we don't know if it'll work, but to at least try to regulate this a little bit.
Yeah, at least they're trying to implement something. So you're going to have a conversation with Dan Murphy tomorrow. Has been all over covering the settlement and kind of breaks it down for us. So can't wait to hear that conversation a little bit more. It's been so hard to follow because there's so many things that have changed, and it's been so different from the start to where it is now, and there's so many things that still have to get figured out. And but it's here, and starting July 1 is when it all unfolds. But I've seen a few since kind of this thing has started to unfold and it's happening. I've seen a few posts. I sent you one last night. I didn't listen to it, but just saying, the teams in the Big Ten or who are most likely to have success or be set up in this new age. And Nebraska is one that I've seen consistently across all platforms, across all different, not just here in Nebraska, that people say, hey, this is a program that is probably going to do well in this. I know why I think that. I certainly have said that from the start. I think they've done a great job preparing. But from the outside, for people that are not embedded with this program, that are just looking in, what do you think are the biggest things that people think that, okay, Nebraska is set up well for this new era of college athletics?
Well, I think it starts with your donor base. And this is where I think this whole era of college athletics is obviously going to benefit those who have a plan, those who have a strong donor base, those who do have that type of revenue coming in. And what did we spend time talking about yesterday as far as the non-revenue making sports, the non-revenue generating sports, that there's still such a strong demand out of the fan base to show up and to watch those sports, to be a part of those games, to be there if they're playing in high leverage games. So as long as there's that demand and that support and there is that strong donor base, you have this now extra ability to attract recruits to all sports. But if we're making this just a football conversation, I think that's where a lot of people are having this conversation since Friday, is who truly stands to gain from the House settlement. And there's the obvious. I mean, this is definitely a rich get richer scenario, in my opinion. I don't think that all of a sudden Alabama is going to be weaker because of this, or Georgia is going to be weaker, or Ohio State because of this. No, they're going to continue to gain from it. But who are some of the programs that are trying to play catch up right now? Nebraska is one of them. I think of some of the other schools. Now, Florida State had a really good year 2 years ago, but they're another major brand. Miami, another major brand that's trying to put themselves into that mix consistently when it comes to a new expanded college football playoff. And how do we get back into those types of contention when it does come to on the national level? Well, you've got to have that fan support, that donor base, and I think the infrastructure that exists at Nebraska. And so I think there are some teams and there's some football programs that I would maybe consider lying in the weeds right now that really could be dangerous to the hierarchy of college football right now, because you continue to give them that ability to level up with those programs, because you're giving them the same type of revenue share type opportunity that, say, again, Georgia has, that Ohio State and Alabama have. But you can offer them unique things. Nebraska also, as we were spending a lot of today's show and yesterday's show talking about the new facilities that they continue to bring out and just the modernization of those facilities, what they can offer athletes from that standpoint. And then if you can begin to get that pathway into the NFL and start to be able to develop those types of athletes that are NFL players, all of a sudden you're offering a lot of the same things that these other schools that maybe you would lose out to in recruiting battles could offer. And so I do think there's a tier of programs that is trying to play catch up that already have that strong donor base, that have that infrastructure when it comes to facilities or fan support or both. And now you have that same type of opportunity with revenue share. I think that is the tier to watch out for, to see those ones, how much do they close the gap on, say, that upper tier, that top tier of true national title contenders. I think Nebraska finds themselves in that tier that has an opportunity to really benefit from this.
So quickly got a question from Shane in the chat. How does the NCAA divide up the $2.8 billion in back pay to athletes? So there is a cutoff year for athletes that can, and you have to opt into it. And this is, again, something that they have been planning for. They knew that this was going to be part of this settlement. And, I mean, it's been talked about here at Nebraska for a while, knowing that that was going to be a part of it, that it was going to be part of the settlement. Because that's where the lawsuits are coming from, right? Is from former student athletes. And so knowing that you're going to have to figure out a way to do it, I guess it's kind of like when you have a, what are those called when you have a
class action? It's kind of like a class action lawsuit.
Right. So you're not going to get people aren't going to get $1 million, but you're going to get a cut of it, whatever for. Yeah. But it's been, again, part of the planning process, knowing that this was a part of the settlement.
Right, and that's the thing is, it's not like all these former athletes are going to get rich off of this. You'll get a little chunk of change, but it's not like, okay, now I can retire. But yeah, essentially it's like a class action lawsuit. And the more people that opt in, the more it's, that money is going to become a little bit lesser for each individual.
I want to say it's 2016. I don't know. I do know that,
I think that's right, yeah.
Like Jeremiah Searles, we've talked about it, like he is too old. Like he's not going to get any part of that cut.
Yeah. I think I think you're right. I think it's 2016.
2016. So athletes from 2016 to up until whenever. That's what. So it's not just like every student athlete that's ever played college sports in the past,
right.
100 years. There is a cutoff date. So that is kind of where you limit some of that. But anyways, good stuff there. And again, you're going to have much more on that. There's just so much to learn about it, and we just don't know. We don't know how it's going to look moving forward. So it's fascinating, but it's here, and we're going to learn much more about it coming up tomorrow night. As Nick is going to sit down with Dan Murphy covering all of the settlement news moving forward. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. We're going to make some golf picks coming up after this.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your basement and damaging your home. Mold, cracks, and of course visible water are just a few signs your basement is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule, with your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or give us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
In the game of life, we all face tough moments. Sometimes it feels like we're up against a formidable defense with no way through. Call a timeout. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the final whistle. Reach out, speak up, and let's tackle this together. Because in Nebraska, we're more than a team. We're family. Remember, in times of need, call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. Coming up this week, we've got the U.S. Open major golf tournament, so we're going to have some picks going on. The last time we tried to do this was a disaster, but so the people that are picking are here in studio, so I think it should go by much smoother. Jake and David, part of the intern group that are the champs from the football picks. So we'll see how they do in golf. But they're both going to participate with us this week, Nick. You were terrible last time, so you're going to pick third. I won, so I'm going to pick first. And Jake's going to pick fourth. David's going to pick second. So snake draft, each pick a guy. And again, cumulative overall winnings with your three guys wins bragging rights. Okay,
I was so bad that you should take a pick away from me. That's how bad I was.
Yes, I think so. Okay, I'm not gonna be any fancy here. I'm not gonna go off the beaten path. Scotty Scheffler, that's who I picked last. He fell to me last time. I'm gonna roll with him again.
Okay,
David. Well, you stole my first pick, obviously. So I'm gonna go with my number 2, my main man, Bryson DeChambeau.
All righty. Okay. Nick?
I'm between two here, but I'm going to stay with my instinct. I'm going to go with, because I did not go with him last time. He was right there for the taking. I didn't know how he would fare at the PGA, but I'm going to say U.S. Open will do, he'll do wonders. So give me Ludwig Oberg.
Okay. Jake gets to go back-to-back.
Cool. So with 2 in a row, I'll take Rory McIlroy, and I'll also go Colin Morikawa. So maybe a little bit not chalk so far, so it's kind of an interesting draft so far.
Rory shot like 81 in a practice round recently there, right? He did not have a good practice round there, so I was kind of hesitant on him, but hey, maybe he got it out of his system in the practice round. Okay, Nick, you're back up.
All right, another guy that I did pick last time, and he did not do many favors, but there's just something about it making it my second pick and not my first pick. I'm going to go with Xander Schauffele.
You love picking Xander.
I love Xander.
Surprised you didn't go with JT, Justin, or Jordan Spieth is your guy.
I'm staying away from JT and Jordan Spieth. I can't trust.
All right, David, you're back up.
All right, so for my number 2, I'm going to go with John Ram.
No, that's what I was going to get.
Snuck it in there.
All right, let's see here. Oh, who's left? Okay, I've been trying to write down everybody's names here. So let's see here. You know what? Give me Patrick Cantlay.
Okay. It's a good one.
And you know what? I always do this. I got to go with one guy. Give me Victor Hovland. Maybe he gets it back rolling again.
Okay, Vic.
He was my guy that I always picked last year, so I'm going to roll with it. Okay, David, your third and final guy.
Okay, for my third and final, I'm stuck between two, but I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to say Justin Thomas.
He stole it, Nick.
That's fine. I wasn't going to take him. I was fading JT on this one. That's okay.
Who you got?
I'm going Tommy Fleetwood.
Nice. Good one. All right. Who's your last one, Jake?
Oh, man. My golf knowledge is not very strong, but a name in Brooks Koepka is popping out to me at a plus 5,000. So why not go for it?
I normally pick him, so I support that pick. So it's either Brooks or Victor for me. I always go back to those two guys. But all right, we'll see. We'll see how we do here. Hopefully Nick has a better performance this week. And
can't be much worse.
What?
Can't be much worse than it was.
Definitely not. Only way you can go from here is up. So, all right. Fun times. We'll see how we do, and we'll talk about it again on next Monday because Nick's final show here tonight for the week. All right, we're going to step aside for a break. We're back to wrap up the show coming up next.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing, you pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody with Nick Hanley. Appreciate David and Jake running the show tonight and also hopping in on the golf picks. That went a lot smoother than last time. It helps when people are in the studio and not texting and calling in. But speaking of Camden, he would have texted in, but guess where he's going tonight?
I bet he's got a concert tonight, right?
He does. He's going to watch Coldplay.
Yes. I think that would be an amazing show. I actually had to ask him how much he paid for those tickets because I know they don't come cheap, but to see that at Mile High would be fantastic. Yeah, normally he's all in on the golf picks, but he, had priorities tonight at a concert. Real quick, Dennis on the text line texted in with this new NIL deal and players getting paid, what will happen to their scholarships since they don't need that extra money and for them to pay out their schooling? So it's basically there's no cap. You're still going to have the scholarships basically, but now you have when they have the roster limits, so 105, you could actually pay all 105 scholarships, and it's where now you have baseball has more scholarships that you could, but you don't have to utilize all those scholarships. You can still have some walk-ons in that mix, so you don't have to pay all but the scholarships are still a part of it. It's just you can actually pay more. You can actually have more scholarships carried on your roster, correct? Right. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think this is another thing that's going to be really interesting to track, Jessica, is what schools decide to fully guarantee the full allotment of scholarships and who decides to just use that as actual revenue share payments and not necessarily put those in, because I think there's this idea that, well, if there's 105 roster spots that you can have 105 scholarships, everybody's going to fully guarantee 105 scholarships, right? I don't necessarily know if that's going to be the case, even at the big level, even at some of the power conferences too. And then you have the Olympic sports or the non-revenue generating or the traditional non-revenue generating sports. They will have that opportunity to increase their scholarship load as well. But how many scholarships will they truly do? Because I seriously doubt, baseball is going to guarantee 35 in many parts, even the SEC and the ACC, or 30 scholarships, whatever it is, that they would actually guarantee that in even the most competitive conferences when it comes to baseball and softball. So I think that is also something in the next year will be very fascinating to see who does what with that.
Again, keep in mind, too, the rev share is not, Title IX does not factor into the rev share, but the scholarships, the opportunities, Title IX is still very much a part of. So that's, again, something to factor in and all that. But it's going to be fascinating to see just what schools do with the opportunity to have more scholarships and then do some not utilize all of them. So we'll see how it plays out moving forward. Speaking of Camden, I did see somebody on the chat say Keegan Bradley. You said it.
I did.
Camden did that, picked him last time, and we kind of doubted him, and then it ended up being a good pick for him.
Yeah,
I've seen a couple of golf experts pick Keegan this week.
I've got I got a separate group, even though I love you guys. I do have a separate group that I do this with some buddies. And so we do a similar thing where it's tiered through the actual World Golf rankings. And so you have tier 1, tier 2, and we get to pick 4 and then a sleeper. And my sleeper is actually Keegan Bradley.
Did you copy from Camden from last major? I'm just kidding. There's been a lot. I feel like that's been a pretty popular dark horse pick.
It's a good one, and then I also I thought I got him on a steal in tier 3 with Shane Lowry too. So I'm happy with I'm happy with this group too, though. I think I'm going to redeem myself from what was a very embarrassing PGA Championship showing.
We'll see. You didn't do very well at the Masters either.
Nope.
Okay, so I did want to, before we run out of time, shout out to Bruce Davis in the chat. He's representing Nebraska in the Philippines.
Hell yeah, let's go.
It's amazing to me. And
what time is it there?
When you talk about why Nebraska, going back to that conversation of why people, think that Nebraska is going to be in a good place moving forward, it's that right there. The fan base is everywhere, and they're across the country, they're around the world, and they are that the fan base is a big part of it for sure too, I think, and they still support all the programs, and they're everywhere.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. I think it was during the Big Ten tournament, Ben and I had gotten a tweet from somebody that was listening to us at a military base overseas. They were listening to the game, and that's just really cool. When you know that you have that much buy-in and from people that are doing the most selfless work fighting for our country, and they're a part of the armed forces, and they're actually listening to a baseball game that in the grand scheme of what they're doing seems very insignificant, knowing that we can provide them a little bit of entertainment or just a little bit of distraction there. That is so cool. And again, it's just those are examples that just completely make Nebraska, the fans here, I think, just second to none.
All right, that's going to wrap it up. You're going to celebrate your birthday, or I guess your half birthday here over the next couple of days?
Yeah. Is it even my half birthday?
If you said January, it's July.
That's true.
So
January 12th, put it on your
July
calendars.
12th it's closer to your half birthday. So.
I like bourbon.
But you'll be back on Monday, next Monday. So
sounds good. Have a good week.
All right. Thanks. Have a nice weekend. All right. That's going to do it for us. We'll be back tomorrow night with a full 2 hours of Sports Nightly. Have a great night, Husker Nation.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life